Hello, everybody. Firstly, thank you for joining us on a Saturday morning. I am Madhura, a volunteer from GDG and WTM Chennai, and your host for today. I must say, you all are very lucky being able to attend a session like this. I so wished I had something like this to attend a year back. But, anyways, today is going to be all about part one, your roadmap to prepare for your interviews. Today, with us, we have Kritika, who is going to be sharing her experience on interviews and how she did her preparations. She recently has worked as a software engineering intern at Microsoft to build an anomaly detection service and has also received a return offer from Microsoft for the same. She is also one of the finalists of Adobe India Women in Tech 2020 Scholarship. Over to you, Kritika, and let's get started.
Thank you so much, Madhura. Thank you so much for a warm, lovely introduction. Hi, everyone. I'm Kritika. Just give me a second. Let me share my screen and we can get started. All right. So, hi, everyone. I'm Kritika, and today we are going to be talking about sort of a roadmap that can get you an offer in the top tech companies. So, just before starting, I would just like to reiterate one thing that, what most people talk about is that, you have to do DS and Algo, and then you'll be able to get that job. But what they ignore is that if these companies don't visit your college, then you have to go the extra mile to prepare and to even land an interview. So all these things we are going to discuss today. So just a bit about myself. I'm currently in my final year of undergraduate studies. I love programming, I love development, I love mentoring, teaching others, writing, and just exploring everything CS has to offer. So I have worked with like many companies, including like startups and corporations like Microsoft, some open source programs, etc. Now, before starting with anything, I would just like to tell you the names of these two books that, like, these are the highly recommended books that everyone should read. First is Cracking the Coding Interview. I think many of you have already heard of this book and how great it is. It's always in the top bestsellers list when it comes to computer science books. Second one is the book called Elements of Programming Interviews. So right now, with this pandemic situation, the levels of, the off-campus coding rounds, they have quite significantly, just been upped. So this is another book that will prepare you for the same. So even if you download them as PDFs, you buy them, doesn't matter. Just have copies of these two books with yourself all the time. Now, when you talk about how to get a job, so we mostly think about, like I said, the tech interview preparation step. But here, we are going to break down it in two steps. First is getting the interviews, and second is cracking the interviews. Getting the interviews is as important as cracking the interviews is. So for getting the interviews, we are going to be talking about profile building and how you can build a great resume, and how you can have a fair balance of co-curricular activities, projects, internships, open source, etc. And then the cracking the interviews part comes up where, we are going to be talking about tech interview preparation and non-tech interview preparation. So let's get started. So, now you know that there are these three steps that you need to take care of. But when it comes to allotting the time for each and every one of these, 50% of your time has to go for profile building. 40% of your time has to go for tech interview preparation, and 10% of your time has to go for non-tech interview preparation. Now, what do I actually mean by these percentages that I'm showcasing you right now? Let's take an example. You're having 100 hours. So out of that 100 hours, you have to give 50 hours for your for building a great resume. 40 hours should be going for preparing for your core CS subjects and DS algorithm questions. And the 10% of your time has to go for non-tech interview preparation. Now, this is the first phase that I was talking about, the profile building phase. So now, what all things can you do to have a great resume? I think you already know a lot of these things, but I'm just reinforcing them that yes, these things are really important. And these are actually the things that, are going to fetch you that interview that you have been aspiring to be in. First of all, have a great resume. Learning new skills. So, we all keep on doing these certification courses on Udemy, on Coursera. So I think that's a great way to learn new skills. Third is make a good GitHub profile. So even if you are not an active contributor in open source programs, it's okay. But I think all of us have been there in that place where, we have worked out some good projects, even as a part of the course or as a part of our college curriculum. So make sure that everything that you have done so far, everything that can, showcase your achievements, showcase your work, it's present on your GitHub profile. Second is make an amazing LinkedIn profile. So this point is so much important that, we can conduct a whole different seminar on this, the importance of a LinkedIn profile, the importance of brand building. Then a portfolio website. So some of us, we use GitHub or our LinkedIn as sort of a portfolio website where we have mentioned everything. But, even if you want to take the extra mile, then you can, you can sign up for the GitHub developer pack and you'll get free host names and domain names. You can buy them and start your own portfolio website. Then comes the part of building some side projects that can be a part of your college curriculum or, just things that you do in your free time. Seventh is starting blogging. So, a lot of students have started blogging recently. And it's mainly because that, when I'm typing your name in a Google search, something valuable should come up. Anything that you can showcase that you are a good software engineer, that you are a great aspirant, you're a good programmer, that has to come up. And the best way to do that is, by teaching others, by actually documenting everything that you have done in a project so that it's also something that can sit, that you can resonate with, that you can understand clearly, while also helping the community in general. Finally, participating in competitions and hackathons. By competitions, I mean all these coding competitions like Google Code Jam, Facebook Hacker Cup, Code Forces competitions, etc. If you get a good rank in them, that's like a great achievement to have. Participating in hackathons. So I love hackathons because, when we are talking about a project, some of us take months to build it. But then there is a hackathon setting where you are given either like 24 hours to 48 hours and you have to build a great project. So everything is like in this acceleration mode. And, the environment is so much built up. The community is so great that, you actually end up building that project. So participating in hackathons is a great way. I know these are tough times and this pandemic is like screwing us up a lot, but Major League Hacking is a community that has been conducting virtual hackathons. So if you're interested, participate in them. Finally, do internships. So, each and every one of us starts small. In the beginning of our career, all of us do unpaid internships or internships that, pay us something like 2,000 or 3,000 a month, and that's okay. You don't directly have to dive into working for Google, Facebook, or Microsoft. Start small, do internships at smaller companies, and try to build a strong foundation. Learn new things and work on like a variety of projects, have great mentors. So internship provides you with all of that. Final part is network, and network. So, even if you're doing all these 9 steps and you don't end up doing the last step, it's of no use because, if people don't know that you've done all this, how are they going to give you an interview? So keep these things in mind and, focus on them and you're going to have a great profile. So this is sort of like a map that I created. So in the middle, we have profile building. Then, on the left, you have this called building project. So how do you build projects? By learning new skills, doing online certifications and building a lot of side projects from those. On the top, we have getting experience. So you can get experience either at doing internships at smaller organizations and participating in competitions and hackathons. Finally, having an online presence matters a lot. So I have a great LinkedIn profile, a GitHub profile, a portfolio website, and some blogs. And finally, lastly, we have this part called networking. So networking is very much important. Be on LinkedIn, network with professionals who are working in the companies you want to be a part of, and just get started. I know a lot of these things that I'm talking about, they are very much interrelated. So if you're doing one thing, then you end up doing the other as well. For example, if you're having a great LinkedIn profile, then of course people are going to notice you. And when you're browsing through LinkedIn, we leave comments, we leave insightful comments, we have quick conversations with people. So these are all very much interrelated. You just need to get started somewhere. So I know a lot of you have questions related to how to build a great resume, what should I do? So I can't give you an entire session on that, but these are some things that are very much important and you should make a note of. First of all, a headline with a matching job description. So what do I mean by that? Let's say the opening is of requirement of an Android developer who is a fresher, but you are basically a web developer, right? So you have to showcase yourself in a way that shows up that yes, you are a good Android developer. You ought to have projects related to Android. Your headline should match anything related to Android, and vice versa. Now, links to your online portfolios, GitHub, and blog. So you have already worked on having a great online presence. So now it's time to mention it in your resume. Then adding important achievements. So what do I mean by that? All of us have some achievements. Maybe you were the topper in your school during 10th standard, during 12th standard, or you won some scholarship. Mention those value a lot. Some things that you can keep in mind is please proofread it again and again. Grammatical mistakes and punctuation mistakes should not be there. That leaves a very bad impression. Keep the resume strictly to one page. I've seen some resumes where people just keep on adding certifications on certifications and the length of the resume exceeds one page. So that's not needed. If you are a person with less than 10 years of experience, then it's highly recommended that you have a one-page resume. Finally, quantifying the impact of every experience. So what do I mean by that? So by quantifying, I mean that, if you've worked at some company, for example, if you've done a great internship, then you need to understand the impact that your project had, the impact that you had on that organization. So let's take an example. You were a web development intern there. So, and you were building something like their new website or their new dashboard. Now, did the traffic increase? Like we all use analytics platforms. So you have to showcase that, what improvement was there when you built that website. So you have to showcase the before and the after scenario of both cases. So that's how you quantify your impact. Finally is review, and review. Ask your friends, ask your mentors, ask your professors to just review your resume. Because, when we build a resume, it's like the result of years of labor, and we often ignore the mistakes that we make in those. So showcasing it to other people and asking them for feedback, that's a great way for a review. Do that. Now, you know how to build a great profile, you know some resume tips. So how to apply and where to find jobs. So how to apply and where to find jobs. So these are some sites that you can use. The ones which are marked in red, these are the sites that I personally prefer, which have been very useful for me. And then Indeed, Freshersword, and Monster.com. These are also websites that have been great for hiring freshers. Have a good profile on LinkedIn. On Glassdoor as well, you can build your profile. You can mention your experiences, your descriptions, etc. Have a good profile there as well. On AngelList, you get a list of startups that have been hiring, that have been recently funded, and they have all these openings up. So go to AngelList if you're looking for working in startups. Now comes the part for tech interview preparation. So how to apply, that is the part that I'm going to cover in the last when we are talking about LinkedIn and how you can leverage LinkedIn to get interviews. So let's talk about tech interview preparation first. So this is the second phase in getting a job. And this is the phase that's been stressed about a lot, right? So let's talk about some necessary steps that each and every one of us can use. First is solving questions on programming platforms like Geeks for Geeks or LeetCode or interview bit, code chef, code forces. You don't have to essentially participate in the contests. Just keep on solving the questions, strengthening your basics, and understanding the various patterns of questions that can be asked in interviews. Next is revising data structures and algorithms. So Geeks for Geeks is a great way to do that. Revising other core subjects. So like there are some core subjects that are more frequently asked than the other. So computer networks, databases, object-oriented programming principles, all these subjects. So if you're attentive in your classes, you must have notes of your professors or of the toppers of your college. Ask them for the notes and keep on referring them time and time again. Practice previous year questions. Yes, that's a great point. So in Geeks for Geeks, there is this section called experiences, and you search for the company and you're going to get tons of experiences of other people who have previously interviewed there. So you're going to get a list of interviews in that company, and then afterwards you can head off to Geeks for Geeks practice. You can search for that company, or you can filter out the questions related with that company, and you're going to get the list of questions. So and these companies, what they usually do is they have a definitive set of a question bank, about 300 questions, and the questions keep on repeating. So that is a great way to prepare for any tech company. Finally, we come to practicing domain-specific questions. So by domain-specific questions, I mean that many of us are like full-stack developers. So you can anticipate questions related to REST APIs or backend questions or caching, servers, etc. Now, if you're a machine learning enthusiast like me, then you can expect to be asked questions related to statistics, probability, and machine learning algorithms, the intuition behind them, etc. So if your resume is showcasing that this is your primary skill set or your primary area of interest, then be prepared to be asked questions related to the same. Now, let's just quickly brush on these. So some data structures, it's a very common topic, and these are some data structures that you need to revise. I think I've listed like a majority of what we are being asked in the curriculum, but yes, they are very important. So just make a note of them. Arrays, linked lists, tags, queues, trees, all these things. Revise them. In the end, I'll also showcase like a way I did to prepare for them. So you can try the same. It's very effective. Now, some algorithms that are really important. Now, these are selective. I think we read something like 20 algorithms when we are doing a DSA course in our college, right? But these are some algorithms that are really important. So sorting and searching are always going to come up in interviews, but they don't often come alone. They're going to be coupled with some other data structure, like linked list, for example, and then you're going to be asked a question on that. So if you're having great fundamentals on the ins and outs of these sorting and searching algorithms, you're good to go. Dijkstra, BFS, DFS. So like advanced graph questions are not much common when you are giving an interview as a fresher. So, but Dijkstra and BFS, DFS, Prim's, Kruskal, these are some basic algorithms that you need to remember. You don't often need to know questions related to Prim and Kruskal, but BFS, DFS is like a very common topic while being asked questions. Next comes dynamic programming, and if the company that you're interviewing for has a strict criteria, then there's a very high chance that you're going to be asked dynamic programming questions. So this is a topic that most of us struggle with, and we often have doubts on how to develop a thinking ability when it comes to dynamic programming questions. So if you're able to prepare recursion and dynamic programming well, then there's a very strong chance that you're going to crack that interview. Just to quote an example, so this year Google gave the opportunity to almost everyone to appear in the coding round, right? And a lot of people, like, they were asked 2 questions, and a lot of people only got dynamic programming related questions. So Google, Facebook, Microsoft, these companies know that people struggle with these topics, and if someone is very much well-versed with these topics, then obviously they're a great match for the company. Prepare this topic very well. Now, so let's talk about some core CS subjects. So these are the 5 core CS subjects that you need to know. Either have your notes from your college curriculum, otherwise just go to Geeks for Geeks, read the basic articles, and you'll be good to go. Also, there are some playlists of questions, the common interview questions related to these topics. So you can just Google them up and you're going to get a list of like 50-60 questions for each of these subjects. Go through them carefully, read about those topics that are being frequently asked, and you'll have a great shot. Now, this is the part about, the tech interviews. But in tech interviews, now companies are also resorting to having another round in which they are exclusively having a discussion about your projects. So you can talk about your internship experiences and the kinds of things that you built there. And if you don't have an internship experience, then you need to showcase a very strong project, something that spans a part of a few months. So if your project is in any of these areas, make sure it's at least of an intermediate level. It's something that you're proud of, and you have to talk it out through it. You have to talk out the entire process, the entire thinking process behind that project. So some pointers that you can use here is, firstly, every project has to have a design. So I'm not talking about like the layout or the front end. What I'm talking about is, we all make choices, right? That the backend has to be, for example, MongoDB. Then did you do a thorough research on choosing that database? Why did you choose MongoDB? Why not SQL, for example? So you have to anticipate that when you're building a project, anticipate questions throughout the entire process. So think about the ifs and don'ts of everything. And when you are appearing in the tech interview, they're going to ask you questions like that only. So explore all these areas and have a great project. Now, this is the part that's like the non-tech interview part. Many companies now don't have like this round. They combine it with the tech rounds and ask you behavioral questions for like 10-15 minutes. You don't need to focus on that part a lot. Just have like a strong brief outline of what you're going to talk about and some questions. So like these are a few questions that are behavioral type. So tell me about yourself. A lot of people talk about their high school marks or what they did during their 10th and 12th standard. Move ahead, you are doing your bachelor's in computer science. So you can talk about your experiences of working under professors, your projects, your internships, hackathons. Talk about these things. Now your hobbies. So be honest here. And so all of us have hobbies, right? Maybe someone is a dancer and they have competed in during high school or college level in various competitions. Talk about those. Now, strengths and weaknesses. I think we all very well know what our strengths are. But in weaknesses, be very much genuine. Don't talk that you're a perfectionist and that's your biggest weakness. No, all of us have weaknesses, and it will be a sign of honesty if you acknowledge that. Say that, I'm not a good team worker, but I'm currently working on that, and I hope I can be better in a few months' time. Be honest here. Next, why do you want to work for us? So this is a crucial question. So whenever you're appearing in an interview, make sure that you are thoroughly researching that company. So you know about the products of that company, what kind of services they give, how are they able to interact with the users, all these things. Please make sure that you are researching the company very well, and then talk about which of these products that you resonate with. I'm sorry, there's a commotion here. Can the participant please unmute themselves? Okay, so why do you want to work for us? So research on that company, which products of the company that you like. So for example, in Microsoft, I really liked Windows because I've been using that since the beginning. It is the tool that I think all of us started with. And then I talked about my interest in Azure and why it's a great tool. So you need to know about the products and why do you resonate with them. Have a strong story to tell here. And finally, what questions should you ask your interviewer? So you can ask about the work-life balance in the company, what kind of projects are the employees working on, and what kind of tech stacks they are using, the challenges they are facing, all these things. So, at least you get a basic idea of the direction that company is headed towards. Now, finally, we are here. So, how to get jobs and how to apply in companies? You have to leverage the power of LinkedIn. It's a powerful tool. It's a tool that can get you any job for sure. You're definitely going to get more opportunities if you have a strong LinkedIn profile. So I think Madhav Behel, I think, is a very popular LinkedIn user, and he talks about these 6 points. So the profile, if you have a great LinkedIn profile, you have a strong shot at getting good recommendations. You'll be recognized for the work that you're doing. You'll definitely get a lot more opportunities. You'll build credibility. If you're attaching all the certificates that you have, or the projects that you've worked on, the hackathons that you've won. So it's adding credibility to your profile that yes, this person is genuine. He has worked hard. Finally, showcasing your brand. So, what do I mean by that? So, if you're not in that room, then what comes to my mind when I think of you? So, that's your brand. That how people remember you, that's your brand. And, LinkedIn is a great way to do that. Finally, tell your story. So, every one of us has a good story. Showcase that yes, this was how I was back in high school, and now see, this is the end result after 4 years of bachelor's. So you have to tell your story in a very convincing way. So while applying to any company, you can have this sort of elevator pitch. So firstly, introduce yourself. Talk about that. Yes, hi, I'm Kritika. I'm currently in my final year, and so I've worked at these companies, and I'm very much well versed with full stack web development and machine learning. That's how you introduce yourself, and that's also I've mingled tell the summary of what you do. So talking about your internships, projects, hackathons, all these things, your achievements, etc. Now mention your purpose. So what you can do is talk about that. Hey, I came across this job opening in your company. I wanted to inquire if you can give me a referral for the same. So mention your purpose very clearly, and end with gratitude. Thank them for just reading that message, and that it will be great if they can give you a referral. End with gratitude. So keep note of these 4 points, and whenever you're messaging someone on LinkedIn, just make a note that you are adding all these 4 points. So yes, this makes the presentation come to an end. You can contact me on my email, my LinkedIn profile, my GitHub, or my Twitter, and ask any questions related to the same. Now, I made this presentation short because I wanted to have a direct interaction with each and every one of you, and address questions related to anything and everything that you want. So let's stop the presentation. You can unmute yourselves, and we can go directly to, asking questions and giving answers.
Hello, Kritika. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm great. My name is Hobbies and I'm from Chennai. I'm a final year undergraduate student. So I just wanted to know if you've ever attended any interviews for the roles of a data scientist or a data analyst before. I'm asking you this because I attended one particular data analyst interview before, and they actually asked me competitive programming. So they asked me questions based on data structures and algorithms, which was kind of new to me because I don't really use data structures in my data analysis work. So I just wanted to know if this is the scenario with everyone else and they also face the same issues. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've given an interview at an AI startup company. So and the very first round, that the link that they sent me, it was of a coding round as well. So they asked questions, like 2 data structures questions. So I then afterwards talked to an employee of the company that, why are these things happening? So he said that, we need to have an optimum bar, right? And we expect that the person is not just doing data science, but they're also well versed with the core CS subjects. So what do I mean by that is that your data science solution might always work, but when it comes to time complexity and optimizing the space of any solution, data structures and algorithms has to be leveraged somewhere. Also, I think the requirements of a data scientist in today's world are quite high, so they have this bar. And I think, can you talk about the level of difficulty of these questions? Like, were they lead code hard questions or like more medium questions?
Oh, they were somewhere between easy to medium. But the thing was that I was not really well versed with those questions. I had spent the last few months sharpening my mathematics skills and my data cleaning and data pre-processing skills. So I hadn't really spent time on data structures and algorithms. When I went back to my friends and when I inquired if these were actually easy or hard, they were like, no, these are actually within the easy to the medium spectrum of questions. They were not at all hard.
Yeah, so what you can do is just photo geeks for geeks practice and practice some questions there. I think if the level of difficulty is easy to medium, so just practice all the medium questions related to the common stacks that I used. Also, so when you're talking about machine learning algorithms, so almost all of them have their roots imbibed in the basic data structures. So your random forest and your decision trees, they come up from trivial tree algorithms, right? So I think that is expected that you need to know the basic data structures and algorithmic questions.
All right, thank you so much.
Okay. Any other questions?
Hello.
Hi, Arjun. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. I think you are doing great. And I would like to ask a few questions about the cloud computing to you. So I'm an UG final year a student right now. I'm dependent on computer science only. So what they expect in the field of cloud computing? Do they really expect the certifications? I'm not having any kind of experience in the job, right? So, do they really need the certifications, even
Uh,
if they go to AWS or Azure, anything, or GCP?
I can talk about Azure. So as per Azure requirements, certifications are not required. I'm not really sure about AWS and GCP. So I hope that answers your question. But another thing is that when I had worked like closely with the Azure team in Microsoft. So what they stress on is that you need to have a basic understanding of distributed systems before doing any sort of cloud computing. So if you're having a strong foundation on that and one or two certifications, I think that will be great.
So,
So
what will be helpful? If I need to do certifications, which kind of certification will be helpful for me? You may say in Azure, that will be helpful.
let's connect with that offline. I'll have to ask some other people who are much more knowledgeable on cloud computing than me. I'll get back to you definitely.
Oh, thank you for the time.
Sure. So, Kirtana, so I want to know if when we apply for internships, does it necessarily mean you have to have all the skills that they mentioned? Kirtana, to answer your question, I don't think you need to know everything, because if you already know everything, then what else are you learning in the job, right? So you ought to have like a basic foundation. You ought to have like a basic knowledge on like if they're asking you for 4 skills, then a basic knowledge on 4 to 5, 3 or 4 skills is like sufficient, and the rest can be learned on the job. So what happens is that if you're in big companies, then they mostly ask you to have knowledge on just one object-oriented programming language of your choice, and then they make you learn everything during the job itself. So, and in startups, they usually prefer someone who is well versed with the technology that they have asked for, because they are operating in a very fast and competitive environment where each and every day counts. So it depends on what kind of company you are applying, and what kind of skills that they're asking you. If they're asking you something like big data, Hadoop, etc., then I don't think that's a very reasonable demand, because as an undergraduate, we don't have access to that kind of infrastructure. Any other questions? If you're not comfortable, you can mention them in the chat, or you can unmute yourselves and ask me questions.
Hi, Kritika.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you? You're doing really great. The session was really good. Thank you.
Thanks for the compliment.
So I was wondering that it's important to stay in touch with the theoretical concepts, right? As practicing is as important as practicing, I suppose. So, what techniques do you use to keep yourselves revised and up to date with all the theoretical concepts, and so that you don't forget? I've seen that people say that there are techniques like using the Fibonacci series technique, even for questions that they practice online. So, are there any steps that you take or any techniques that you use? Yeah, thank you.
Sure. So, like, I think this question is more focused on the core CS subjects. So what I basically do is that on Geeks for Geeks, you have all these great articles on the various subjects, right? I have read them all, and I have my very short notes. So these notes span something like 5 to 6 pages, and they revise all these crucial concepts. And also, if you dive into subject, let's take the examples of databases. So in databases, there are only 4 or 5 topics that are very much frequently asked. So one of them is normalization. Another one is, the SQL versus NoSQL database comparison. So there are hardly 4 or 5 questions, like type of topics that are being asked. So have like your own personalized set of notes that you can get back to time and time again. If you're able to focus during your college studies itself, that's a great option. Even if you're not able to do that, for preparing core CS subjects, I don't think more than a day or 2 is needed for each and every one of these subjects. Just employ Geeks for the same.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kritika.
All right. So there's another question by Vikram. For a full stack developer position, is competitive programming really needed? Yes, Vikram. So you don't essentially need competitive programming. What you basically need is a strong hold on data structures and algorithms, and it's significantly different than competitive programming. See, what companies usually envision as you as a candidate is someone who has worked hard in your 4 years, right? And basic problem solving skills gives you, like, it is able to give you a lot of skills, right? You are able to think quickly, you are able to break complex questions into smaller parts, and these are things that people desire, that companies desire. So if you're having a basic understanding of DSA, that's great to have. You don't essentially need to participate in competitions or do code forces and code chef. Head off to Geeks for Geeks or Interview Bit and just keep on solving common questions. I'm not asking you to solve 500 questions. Do 100 questions, but they ought to be of a great quality, and you'll be at a great position. So, Priya, can you recommend some resources for data science for a non-tech person? So for data science, Priya, what you can do is firstly be well versed with the Python programming basics. Then you can head off to learning about the various libraries, pandas, numpy, matplotlibs, seaborn, etc. A course I recommend for the same is, wait, I'll just share the link with you, and you can head off there and learn about it all. For learning machine learning, there are some great tutorials available on YouTube by, I think, Stanford University and Andreas Mueller of Scikit-learn. So you can learn from there. I hope that answers your question. Srihari, I'm good at JavaScript and web development. Do I still need to learn another language for DS and Algo for getting an internship or job? I don't think that's necessary, Srihari, because as far as I know, in all the competitions, coding contests, so there is an option for solving questions in JavaScript. I hope you can use JavaScript itself for doing DS Algo. Bharat, how to handle programs in interviews? We are getting unexpected questions almost all times. Yes, that's a good question. Uh, I can answer that. Just let me share my screen once again. So, please, whenever you're preparing, just head off to Geeks for Geeks uh, practice section. So there you'll get all this list for data structures and the various algorithms. What you can do is, let's take an example of stack. So you can sort all the questions by easy level. Right. Now you're getting, I think, 20 something questions. Some of them are being asked in like various companies. Just do those questions. Ignore all these questions that have not been asked in any company. Now, when you are able to solve 30, 40 questions for each and every topic, you're going to notice certain patterns of each and every question, like of every topic, that, if you're being asked for a cost optimization or a minimum, then it's likely a dynamic programming question, right? Or for example, if you're being asked a count, so that is something related to hashing. Substring type questions have another pattern that can be used. So when you keep on solving more and more questions and you build your strong foundations, then you start on noticing patterns about everything. And these patterns are what you're going to be using. Don't need to remember the questions. You just need to remember the patterns. Make note of the patterns. And whenever you're asked an unfamiliar question, then, you can think that, yes, I did something related to this only. And then you're able to solve that question. What you lack is practice, and if you're able to do that the right way, I think you'll have great skills in DSA. So Fazil, can you please suggest ways to prepare for a product-based company from a service-based company? I'm working in Hadoop currently with 2 years of experience. So Fazil, to answer your question, I think the problem solving and the skills are the same, but what you essentially need to focus on is system design as well. So system design is like a very common topic for being asked questions. So you can head off to High Scalability or War of Saints YouTube channel. And there they discuss that designing the infrastructure or designing the distributed system layout for multiple applications. So have a strong foundation on system design. Also, I think since you are already working in some company, it will be easier for you to get a referral, quickly get a referral by someone on LinkedIn, and just keep on preparing for the interviews. So if there are any more questions, yeah, Saurav, sorry, really sorry.
Hi, Kritika. Sorry for interrupting. I'm Saurav, and I want to extend on Kirtana's question. She mentioned that about the stack. But what if, like many companies, they ask multiple stacks? Like if there's a mobile development, let's say it's an app development position, but they need web development, they need multiple frameworks, they need Flutter, they need hybrid React and everything. They have a lot of things that they need. So as a fresher, as a beginner, how do you go around tackling that? Because obviously you would not have all the skills that they mentioned, all the stack, all the technologies that they use in their company. So how would you go around applying for the job, or would you suggest applying for the job?
I think if they're asking for so many things that you need to be well versed with web, Android, I don't think the company is worth much. Good companies usually ask for either one stack, and the product-based companies, they don't even ask for any stack. They just want you well versed with the problem solving, the logic when it comes to programming. So, but what you can instead do is apply nevertheless. Like, I think not a lot of candidates are there who will be well versed with all these technologies that you are listing. So even if you apply, I think you can get an interview by that. Also, you can come in contact with anyone who's already working in that company, and tell them that these are the things that I know. Give me a referral. Just keep on asking for a referral. Even if you don't know the stack, if you're good in problem solving, I think you can pick up any technology, any stack very quickly. It doesn't matter.
Right. Okay, and one more question, because a lot of companies, even if they are hiring for junior developers, junior software engineers, they require at least 1 to 3 years of experience. I've seen a lot of companies, good companies, but they're asking for experience, minimum 1 and about 1 to 3 years. So
Yeah.
what?
So I personally suggest that if you're able to do internships that span that timeline, apply there. So like if I have count all my internship months, then I think I'm exceeding 1 year. So have previous experience and then apply. Adding previous experience in your profile, be it in the format of open source or or startups, corporate environments, trainings, etc. Anything is fine. But I think the key is in applying and applying. So apply to 500 companies, it doesn't matter, but have strong internships before. That is actually something that's going to fetch you that job.
Okay. Thank you so much, Kritika. You've been very helpful.
Have a great day. Thank you. So, Varsha, you are best in Python, and is it a better language for DS and Algo, or is it mandatory to become an expert in Java or C++? No, not at all. I still code in Python, and all of my interviews in Python were in Python itself. So, no, your choice of language never matters. So, you can code in any language that you prefer. You can prefer C#, Kotlin, whatever you want. It doesn't matter. And I think Python is a better tool when appearing for interviews, because the syntax is so simple that it actually resembles pseudocode. So companies, they don't usually have all these kind of demands. Bharat, how to remember the programs or concepts for a long time or permanently? Hardly the prepared stuff gets vanished out of the memory in a week or two. Bharat, I think what you sincerely lack is having good note-taking skills. Make use of some online note-taking tool, or enter all of your notes in a markdown and just keep on revising them in a few months. So you can do that, because let's be honest, I don't think any one of us remembers what we learned a week back. You ought to have good notes, something that's personalized, something that you have worked out for yourself, and then you revise them. Madhura, what things should one be prepared for a role focused in ML? So for a role focused in ML, firstly, have strong CS foundations, and then comes all the data science part, the data cleaning, the data analysis, wrangling parts. Also, what's really important is that many of us lack a mathematical intuition behind the machine learning algorithms. So if you're able to grasp that intuition by doing online courses and working on projects, you're at a great place. Another thing I've heard from some of my friends is that Kaggle competitions help a lot in having a great profile. Like what GitHub is for software engineers, that Kaggle is for like people who are working in data science and machine learning. So if you're having a profile related to the same, that will be great. So if there are any more questions, guys, you can ask me. We still have like 20 minutes left. Hey, Kritika. Thank you for the compliment, Anita. If there are any more questions, feel free to ask them.
Hey, Kritika, this is Saurav again.
Yeah.
Yes, so you did an internship in Microsoft. So that was for 3 months, I presume. Yes. So it ended in June. So if I may ask, why did you not continue with Microsoft?
Actually, Microsoft, you get a span of 8 weeks to 10 weeks for your internship. And my time ended that time. So I did an internship of 10 weeks, and it will be extended further. Now I'll be joining them next year as a software engineer full-time.
Oh, awesome. That was my question. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Come on, guys, ask your questions. We still have another 20 minutes. Okay, Arvind, thank you. You're a test automation engineer with 5 years of experience. Great. Currently learning data science and doing Kaggle problem statements. Could you highlight what other skills would be expected apart from core DS skills from a profile? Do I need to have good command of over data structures and writing algorithms too? Arvind, I think you need to have a good command over data structures and algorithms, because that is, again, a part of your, I think, problem solving skills, right? So just be good with the basic questions. I think if you're having so much of experience, you can do that very quickly within a span of one or 2 weeks. So be good there. And one thing I can focus on is that building projects is very important. So head off to Stanford CS229. So that's the course that Andrew Ang takes while teaching Stanford students machine learning. And then you'll come across like thousands of projects, thousands of great projects with research papers and strong documentations and everything, right? So head off there and start building your own projects, getting inspired from those. I think that is the main way by which you can get well versed with data science. Yes, standard problem statements are great in showcasing that when you become I think an expert or something. But what a data scientist also needs is someone who can do the dirty work of collecting data. So web scraping or using APIs and understanding how APIs work, even creating your own REST API for deployment. All these skills are great to have. Bhavani, riffing on Varsha's question, Python sometimes abstracts a lot of things. Uh, was there an interview where they asked you to do it without using any built-ins or standard libraries? Bhavani, I think most companies, they don't allow you to import anything, right? So in C++, even what Microsoft and Amazon do is that they're not going to allow you to import something like the standard libraries, the STL, for example. So what you can do is that you you need to understand things in a way that you're not choosing any library. Have to go under the hood on things. You can't use any inbuilt tech or pure stack or something. You can leverage something like list in Python to solve those questions. So no, you don't have to use any sort of library, because most probably there's a very high chance that you're not going to be using it when appearing in your coding test. Even I think I remember in Microsoft, what they did is that in C++, they didn't allow you to import STL, but they gave you, even the inputs, they were present in the form of pointers. So if you're not good with pointer basics in C++, then that was very difficult for you to solve those questions, right? But in Python, you don't have all these kind of problems. You just head over to lead code and, without any imports, try to solve those questions. I think the only built-in libraries that are allowed is math and the random function. So I hope that answers your question. Priya, could you repeat the reference of Stanford University from project? Sure, I'll just give me a second. I'll send the link. So Priya, I've just added the link there in the chat section. So head over there. So you'll come across like previous projects, and I think they are spanning a timeline of 15 or something years. And these are 3 projects that the Stanford students have built in a long time. Get inspired from them. I think they span like multiple domains, include text, images, and music, whatever you can think of, they have worked there. So I hope that inspires you to build your own project. If there are any more questions, guys, come on.
Hey everyone, Madhura here. So before any one of you ask any tips and tricks or some points to remember the coding questions or anything like that, let me just tell you we have one more session coming up on September 26th. That is part 2 of the session, where Kritika will be actually helping you to solve some questions, and we'll keep it like a hands-on coding session with her. So it'll be great if you could suggest some topics that you would like to work on. And right, Kritika? Won't that be helpful?
Yeah, definitely. We can take the topic that's been problematic for a majority of the students.
We have dynamic programming.
Okay. Okay. Everyone can mention the topics there in the chat section. Okay, recursion. So I think sort of the dynamic programming and recursion session can be taken together, because recursion is like the basic thing, and then dynamic programming is something that you get afterwards. Bhavani, trees and crafts. Okay. Also, you can also keep on asking your questions if you have any to ask. We'll just take a look at all the topics that are being suggested right now. Priya, to answer your question, how much time should you allot for preparing for interviews, approximately alongside college? I like to think that if you solve 1 to 2 questions a day, 1 to 2 quality questions, that is, I think in a year you will end up doing something like 400 questions, right? So 400 questions, I think, are sufficient to prepare for any interview of any company you can think of. Varsha, is there anything else that we need to know as a fresher other than DS and Algo, like the important topics that we need to learn for our HR round for product-based companies? No, Varsha. The HR round is very simple. Like usually companies don't even have a proper HR round. They just combine it with the technical round. So when you're getting interviewed by someone like a senior director or something, so they're going to ask you behavioral questions, like talk about your struggles, your strengths and weaknesses. What you can do for to prepare for them is just Google the common HR round questions. You'll get like a list of 10 to 20 questions, right? And make an outline of what you're going to talk about if any of those questions is being asked. So it's more like you know yourself, you know what you're talking about, these sort of things. So you don't need to do any sort of preparation for HR round. That round will come when you have already succeeded in all of your coding rounds and your interview rounds. So don't focus on that that much, right? Thanks for the compliment, Rehan. I hope you learned something valuable from it. Srihari, you see, startups, even some companies underestimate the value of JS, at least for DSR. What's your take on this? I completely agree with you on this. Companies are more biased towards having C++ or C++ and Java. That's like the way it has been for decades, and companies are not much willing to change. But what I can say is that these companies, you don't actually have to code, right? When you're appearing for interviews, there is only one coding contest, and in that they're not going to be looking at the solutions of each and everyone who has participated. So, but in the tech interviews, even if you just enter the pseudocode, that's completely fine. I mean, that's preferred because coding takes much more time, and writing a pseudocode is much simpler in nature. So it doesn't matter actually. You have to be well versed with the logic. That's what is important. Arjun, hi, is there any resources helpful for preparing for cloud computing platform? I'm using Quick Labs now. Could you suggest any resources that are helpful in preparing? Arjun, I'm not very much well versed with actually using Quick Labs or other cloud computing platforms. I'm not the right person. I've just used Azure because I was working in Microsoft. But I, however, can ask you questions. I can ask other people who have worked in that field, and I can get back to you. So let's connect offline, and I'll definitely get back to you in a day or two. We have 10 more minutes, so if there are any more questions, feel free to ask them. Priya, can we add participation certificates of competitions if that gives any value? What kind of competitions are you actually talking about? If you can just mention that. Yeah, definitely. So even if you don't add like the certification in your resume, what you can add is the project. So you must have built certificate or like something, even if you didn't get the prize, right? So add that. So what you can do is like mention the title, then add a hyphen, then add that, built as a, like, let's say the MLH hackathon, built during the MLH hackathon, and then mention the functionalities that you worked on. So that will be a great addition. So, but I personally am not very much of someone who adds certifications, because I feel that you add value when you build things. So you don't actually have to add certifications, especially when everyone is out there is doing Udemy and Coursera. So those certifications are of little value. However, if you're someone who is willing to work in the field of cybersecurity, or I think networking, so there are many certifications that I've heard are very helpful. So don't take my word on that. Work on those certifications if that's the field that you're interested in. But for essentially software engineering domain, you don't need any sort of certification. If there are any more questions, feel free to ask them. Arjun, no, participation certificates are not useful, especially workshops, because if you've learned something, like if you've built a project using what you've learned, or you can add that skill in your skill section. That's something that's useful, but just adding the certification, I don't see a use of it. So you just have one page, right? And a large chunk of that page either has to, like, on the top, you're going to be mentioning your education. So that's going to be like 1/6 of that page. Then you're going to be talking about your experiences, including your internships, right? This is the part that has to cover a significant chunk of your resume, your internships. Then comes your projects. So your projects, at least mention 4 or 5 projects that are of at least an intermediate level. So I don't think where you'll get the space for adding certificates. So you don't have to make a long resume. Keep it short, but make it in a way that each and everything is adding value. And like for creating a resume, I think each and every one of us admires someone, right? So stalk them on LinkedIn. A lot of people add their resumes. Go through their resume, the structuring of the resume, and then decide for yourself if you need to add any sort of certification. But there's one thing, right? So like in our college, we are asked to do NEPTEL certifications, because that's like an extra elective for us to get an honors degree. So every semester we do one NEPTEL certification, and if you're able to get like a top 2 percentile rank there, then you can add that as an achievement, but definitely not as a certification. Srihari, apart from DS Algo, it will be great to have a full stack or Android development GCP session workshop. I think the organizers can make a note of this and organize similar sessions for the participants. Thank you. Thank you, Arjun. If there are any more questions, we still have 4 minutes.
Hey, Kritika, Madhura here.
Yeah.
So sometime back, while I was preparing for some interviews for product-based companies and solving problems on Leet Code, I actually referred some blogs. So many of them said that they had solved 500 questions, 600 questions on Leet Code. So how many, does that number matter? Because, we usually solve some easy, medium, and hard questions. So even the recruiters tell you that you need to solve these many medium and hard questions. So what number of questions do you think can actually give that kind of confidence to one person? Or what number of questions you have solved that has given you confidence? And what does it depend on?
So, Madhura, to answer your question, each and every one of us is strong in some topic. So, what I basically did is that I always solve 10 questions in every topic that are of the easy level. Afterwards, I jump to the medium level and solving 15 questions. And then when I was well versed, I know all the concepts, I take a look at the question and I know a basic approach to solve them. I don't essentially have to solve all of those. And that's where I stopped. I didn't even do the hard questions in the beginning because I was not that much confident. And mostly hard questions are hard because they combine multiple topics. And I didn't have that much knowledge on how to solve those. So easy, medium questions and like 30 something questions. Afterwards, jump to the next topic. Then, so I think we have something like 10 topics, right? So like you can do the math. I did like 300 questions. Honestly, I think I did something like 250 questions. When you get confidence is when you start on noticing the patterns. It's all about the patterns. You can do 80 quality questions and you'll have better confidence than anyone who has solved 1,000 questions because you ought to solve quality questions. What people end up doing is they keep on solving the basic school level or the easy questions. And you don't build anything. You don't add any great value by solving so many questions if you're not learning something new from each and every one of those. That's what I believe. Also, there's like just to help you out on Geeks for Geeks, there is this free course where they have this playlist of the common interview questions. I think there are 150 questions there. If you solve each and every one of them, it's helpful for product-based companies. So you can take a look at that. I'll send you the link afterwards.
Sure. I'm so looking forward for the next session.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So if there are any more questions, guys, feel free to ask them. Otherwise, I think like we just have 1 more minute.
Any questions or suggestions from you?
Hey Kritika, Saurav again.
Yeah.
One more question. You keep mentioning about doing quality questions. How would you, as a fresher who has no knowledge of lead code questions or geeks for geek questions, how would you separate or distinguish between which ones are quality based on the number of submissions or the number of likes or comments that question has got? How would you choose a quality question?
So I didn't use lead code especially because the premium subscription that's like it's the gold, right? But what I did is on Geeks for Geeks, each and every question, if it's been asked in any company, then it's going to have that company tag, right? So I just solved those questions that were being asked in companies. I didn't solve any other question. So because it has like a higher probability of being asked.
Makes sense.
And another website that you can use if you are only looking for quality questions is InterviewBit. I think a lot of you have already heard of it. But if you head over there, they just have 350 questions. A lot of them are redundant, but I think 200 of those are really good questions. If you're able to solve InterviewBit entirely, I don't think there's any company that's going to say no to you because you have built a strong foundation.
Okay, thank you.
So I think we are done with the questions right now, Kritika. Thank you so much for this session. We all loved it. We even loved interacting with you, and I'm sure we understood so many new things and learned so many tricks by just talking with you. And we are just looking forward for your next session. That's the preparation for acing the tech interviews. That's happening on 26th of this month. Just to remind you all. So another thing is, so if you all want to be a part of this GDG community, you'll all have to sign up onto our new platform. And Also, please don't forget to tweet of whatever you have understood or liked about this session and post your feedback as well. So, see you all on to the next session that's happening on 26th. Thank you for joining us. We have sent the platform link on the chat, so where you can sign in as a member for GDG's Chennai community. Thank you all.
Thank you so much. Have a great day, everyone.
Yes, thanks, Kritika. You too.